ينزل. Damas y caballeros, los invitamos a tomar asiento.
in Chungkong, and I thank him for this valuable initiative. This conference became possible after my country, Azerbaijan, was unanimously chosen as the host of COP29 last December. Dear participants, all countries in the world are being affected by climate change, and our country is no exclusion. In the last years, Azerbaijan faced extreme heat, water shortage, the shrinking of the Caspian Sea and flooding. Realizing and anticipating the depths of the challenge, Azerbaijan, under the leadership of President His Excellency Mr. Ilham Aliyev, put climate action into the heart of its national plan much before being elected as the host of COP29. By undertaking voluntary commitments, incorporating green agenda into national development programs, establishing green energy zones, Azerbaijan has shown clear conviction and determination on its future path. At the same time, selection of Azerbaijan as the host of COP29 is also the result of the trust of the world community in Azerbaijan's ability and experience in acting as a bridge builder, uniting communities and countries behind a common cause. Despite having less time than any other country for preparations, only 11 months, COP29 Azerbaijani presidency has done tremendous work in engaging all interested parties, listening to their needs and understanding their expectations. Dear colleagues, dear friends, but I have to mention that unfortunately, during these preparations, our country has faced bias and groundless accusations, double standards, and disinformation campaigns by some countries and media platforms. Few national parliaments and interparliamentary organizations have also played their miserable role in these activities. Obviously, some forget the power of dialogue, cooperation, and solidarity in the face of common challenges. On the other hand, they still don't understand that because of its critical importance, the issue of climate change cannot be a platform for displaying their narrow interests and politically motivated ambitions. Dear participants, despite these unpleasant circumstances, COP29 has been successfully launched and continues its work with engagement of all interested parties. Our parliamentary meeting succeeds World Leaders Climate Action Summit and several other substantial events and meetings. Action agenda and 14 initiatives put forward by COP29 presidency are the result of inclusive process, demonstrates a comprehensive approach, and brings everyone together in global climate action. Some important results have already been achieved through ongoing discussions. I am not going into the details, and I believe Mr. Mukhtar Babayev, President of COP29, will touch upon these issues in his speech. Ladies and gentlemen, where do our Parliament stand in global climate efforts? What is our role? Let me say that these questions are not rhetorical questions. They have answers. Indeed, we, members of Parliament, and the representatives of our people, communicate with them on a daily basis. We are the first to witness devastating effect of climate change on them. And by bringing to the forefront their needs and perspectives, parliaments take their ownership of the process and make it more inclusive. Our parliaments possess necessary tools through legislation, budgeting, or oversight to support our governments in advancing climate action. I am sure that most of our parliaments have already enacted laws that focus on emission reductions, energy transition, and green development. Dear colleagues, climate change is humanity's biggest challenge that goes beyond any national borders and demands collective efforts. It gives me a pride and joy to see so many parliamentarians from around the world to join us here today. It shows our unity for common cause with strong involvement to the process. Our parliamentary cooperation in sharing our knowledges, expertise, and best practices gains a special significance and benefits us all. I would also like to commend the role of the Interparliamentary Union, staying true to its vision of dialogue and solidarity. It mobilizes us around vital initiatives, including climate action, and ensures our voices being heard. But as the climate crisis is getting worse, the task of eliminating adverse effects of climate change gets harder because we have less and less time. It is evident that the fight against climate change needs even more. And in these circumstances, there is also a need for us to step up our involvement. We need to further improve our legislation, encourage our governments to better mobilize their efforts, and exert pressure on them to fulfill their commitments. Increasing cooperation with civil society will help us better understand their concerns. Dear colleagues, our two-day meeting and the outcome document, which reflects our common positions, focus on the most pressing problems and critical issues: climate finance, mitigation and adaptation, transparency, nationally determined contributions. These are also the priorities of COP29 Azerbaijan presidency. In fact, they reflect today's global climate agenda. Obviously, there is no need to invent the wheel again. Rather, success lies in turning common desire and words into concrete actions. COP29 is a critical moment for the global climate action. Responsibility to act is for us all. And now is the very moment to show global solidarity and unity. Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, I am confident that with stronger partnerships, support and commitment, we will move forward in solidarity for a green world, for a better sustainable future, and I wish every success to our meeting. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I have the honor to offer the floor to Her Excellency, Ms. Tulia Axon, President of the Interparliamentary Union. Madam President, the floor is yours.
Right Honorable Speaker, Sahiba Gafarova, Speaker of the Milli Majlis of the Republic of Azerbaijan, distinguished Mr. Mukhtar Babayev, President of COP29, honorable speakers who are present here, members of Parliament, and distinguished guests. I would also like to recognize the presence of the Secretary General of the Interparliamentary Union, Mr. Martin Chugong. I stand before you with a sense of honor and responsibility as the President of the Interparliamentary Union, representing the global organization of parliaments dedicated to fostering collaboration, upholding democratic values, and addressing the critical challenges of our time. It is inspiring to see the impressive number of participants here, with over 300 parliamentarians registered for this meeting. This is a testament to our shared commitment to climate action. This gathering reflects the power of unified parliamentary action and engagement, bringing together voices from around the world in the pursuit of solutions to the climate crisis. I would like to acknowledge and extend my deepest appreciation to Mr. Simon Steele, the Executive Secretary of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. His commitment to steering the international community towards sustainable climate solutions serves as an inspiration for the work of parliaments worldwide. As a former senior minister and a parliamentarian, he understands the fundamental role of legislative bodies in translating climate ambitions into action. Through his leadership, he emphasizes the urgency for national and global priorities to align with the Paris Agreement goals, an alignment in which parliaments play a central role. Having been so warmly received and wholeheartedly welcomed. We, the members of Parliament here, extend our sincere appreciation to the city of Baku for hosting COP29, a platform that reflects Azerbaijan's commitment to championing climate solutions and setting a high standard for a global cooperation on climate action. Our gratitude is extended to the Milli Majlis of the Republic of Azerbaijan, which is led by Right Honorable Sahiba Gafarova. Madam Speaker, we all here thank you so much for all the preparations you have put into place. And at the same time, as IPU, we appreciate again, Madam Speaker, your accepting to co-host this event and building on the significant milestone of COP28, which was held in the UAE, Dubai, where a parliamentary meeting took place within the COP Green Zone for the first time, and this is the second time. By providing this essential platform, Azerbaijan is reinforcing the role of parliaments in climate governance and affirms their impact in translating climate goals into actionable policies that resonate at all levels of governance. The warmth and generosity we have experienced here in Baku embody the spirit of inclusion and partnership, encouraging us all to work together to address the climate crisis. Dear friends, dear colleagues, the IPU's mandate is rooted in a commitment to strengthen parliamentary institutions, empower legislators, and ensure that the voices of the people are heard on the global stage. We work to promote international dialogue, advance sustainable development goals, and champion human rights, striving to create societies that are just, equitable, and resilient. Climate change is one of the defining issues of our mandate because it impacts all aspects of our lives, be it social, economic, and environmental. It challenges us to look beyond immediate national interests. Instead, focus on well-being of the entire planet and future generations. Dear colleagues, dear friends, tackling this global crisis requires not only effective policies and legislation, but also sustainable political will. The IPU is committed to mobilizing and strengthening this will within parliaments worldwide, empowering them to take climate action through advocacy, capacity building, and collaboration. Since the adoption of the Paris Agreement, the IPU has supported the development of climate-related legislation and provided resources and training to help align national policies with global climate goals. Notable examples include the 10 actions for stronger national commitments launched as part of the IPU's Parliaments for the Planet campaign, and our recently launched toolkit on strengthening parliamentary oversight of nationally determined contributions, both of which offer support to parliaments in overseeing and strengthening their nationally determined contributions, ensuring national goals align with global climate targets. Dear colleagues, in just 1 year, since the last parliamentary meeting, the world has witnessed a series of extreme weathers, events that have severely impacted vulnerable communities. Record heat waves have led to droughts and water shortages, while intensified storms have caused widespread devastation. Historic droughts have resulted in energy blackouts, water rationing, and extensive wildfires exacerbated by food insecurity. Unprecedented flooding has displaced millions and destroyed infrastructure. These events have left no region untouched, affecting the communities and constituents we represent here today. By the end of 2023, 7.7 million people were internally displaced by disasters, a number that excludes those uprooted by slower onset crises like rising sea levels and environmental degradation. Having said that, I would like once again to recognize the efforts by our speaker here, who has invited the Secretary General of SEEDS. And I believe as members of Parliament, it is our responsibility also to take into account the challenges that small island developing states go through. And so, Madam Speaker, you have done well. Congratulations. That said, colleagues, climate change is increasingly driving extreme weather events, putting countless more people at the risk of losing their homes and livelihoods. As we reflect on these impacts, we must ask ourselves, what kind of a world do we want to leave to our children and future generations? A world of scarcity, where water shortages, food insecurity, and displacement are the norm? Or a world where our commitment today creates a sustainable and resilient future? These are the types of decisions that will shape the lives of the generations to come. As we convene here at COP29, we must acknowledge that approximately 733 million people, 1 in every 11 globally, are currently facing hunger, a crisis intensified by climate change's relentless impacts. We stand at a point where ambition must meet action, and words must translate into meaningful change. Parliamentarians hold significant responsibility in this effort and this urgent phase of climate action, bridging the gap between international agreements and national implementation. With our authority to enact and oversee legislation, we ensure that climate policies and laws are ambitious, practical, and enforceable. We are uniquely positioned to scrutinize government action, allocate resources effectively, and mobilize public support, making climate action a priority at all levels. COP29 carries unique significance by advancing fundamental areas which are essential to our shared climate goals. It emphasizes the importance of new climate financing commitments, increased national climate ambition, and important steps forward in adaptation, loss, and damage efforts. Building upon the momentum from COP28, we now turn to implementing these ambitions with clarity and urgency. Colleagues, the focus of this parliamentary meeting shows the depth and complexity of the issues before us, but we must rise to the challenge. Let us commit to translating the commitments made here into impactful policies that drive resilience, adaptation, and mitigation at all levels. Together, we can forge partnerships that transcend borders, ensuring our efforts are inclusive and responsive to the unique challenges faced by each nation. Let us act with urgency, ambition, and determination needed to build a sustainable, climate-resilient future for generations to come. I thank you for listening.
Thank you, Madam President. And now I have the pleasure of inviting His Excellencies, Mr. Mukhtar Babayev, COP29 President, to address this parliamentary meeting.
Excellencies, distinguished members of the Parliament, guests, good morning. We are delighted to warmly welcome you to this parliamentary meeting at COP29. I extend my thanks to the Interparliamentary Union and the Milli Majlis for co-organizing this significant event. I'm also grateful to Her Excellency Ms. Saiba Gafarova, Speaker of the Parliament of Azerbaijan, and Madame Tulia Aksen, International Parliamentary Union President, for their support and contributions. I'm grateful for the effort that you have all made to come to Baku and to add your voice to those calling for action. We have provided support to national delegations of small islands developing states so that the voices of those on the front lines are at the heart of COP29. And I know that Her Excellency Ms. Gafarova also traveled to Antigua and Barbuda for the 4th International Conference on Seeds to hear your concerns and priorities directly. I also hope that you have a chance to learn more about Azerbaijan and build new partnership and friendship. Dear ladies and gentlemen, the COP29 presidency is focused on our plan to enhance ambition and enable action. Throughout the conference, we have been clear about our expectations of all climate actors. Today, I want to focus specifically on your essential role as parliamentarians in driving climate action forward. The quick ratification of the Paris Agreement showed that parliaments can achieve when acting with purpose and urgency. That agreement entered into force in less than a year. This was one of the fastest international agreements ever adopted. This remarkable achievement was thanks to the determination of parliaments worldwide. We need that same spirit of urgency now. Through legislation and accountability, you can ensure governments set and implement ambitious climate plans. They are an essential pillar of our vision. You can push for stronger climate plans to reduce emissions that are aligned with keeping 1.5 degrees within reach. You can make sure that your governments prepare for a warming world with national adaptation plans. You can hold leaders accountable for the climate commitments with robust biennial transparency reports. Ladies and gentlemen, you also have an important role on the other pillar of our plan to enable action. You set and oversee national budgets. You play an important role in the economic decisions of the governments. This will play an essential part in financing the transition and building a climate-resilient world. We understand that political and financial constraints might be challenging. But let me make 2 points. First, numbers may be big, but they are nothing compared to the cost of inaction. And second, we are all in this together. Nothing has a greater impact on the security, prosperity, and well-being of all nations than climate change. You can help build the political will for transformative change. We need you to build the political with both here at COP and when you return to home. The COP29 presidency's top negotiating priority is a new climate finance goal. They are some of the most complex negotiations. We are asking you to support us by reminding negotiators about the expectation of communities around the world. We need to deliver a fair and ambitious climate finance goal here in Baku. Ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, we gather as representatives of different communities, but we must never forget our common humanity, our shared world, and the mutual benefits of collective action. You have an important role to connect global diplomacy for local action. You understand the needs and challenges of your constituencies. You understand how they are urgently calling for leadership. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you again to the Interparliamentary Union and to the Parliament of Azerbaijan for bringing us together. And thank you all for joining us here in Baku. We hope that you leave with a greater understanding of how you can contribute to global efforts on climate. I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. And now, dear participants, let me invite the Secretary General of the Interparliamentary Union, His Excellency, Mr. Martin Chung-gong, to introduce our next distinguished speaker who will deliver his extremely important special address to the global parliamentary community. Mr. Martin Chung-gong, the floor is yours.
Madam Speaker of the Parliament of Azerbaijan, Your Excellency Sahiba Gafarova, President of the IPU, Dr. Tulia Aksen, and of course our good friend, the President of COP29, Mokhtar. It's a great pleasure for me to address you here, to introduce to you, as the Master of Ceremonies has just said, a very special guest to this meeting. It gives me great pleasure and honor to therefore introduce to you the Executive Secretary of the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, His Excellency Simon Stiell. And may I ask Simon to come up here for a moment? Please, I want, please, yes. Let me show you the person I am introducing. And I am pleased to say that you bring a lot of wealth to the discussions that we're having here. And we have come to admire your enduring commitment to climate action. Also, we acknowledge the depth of understanding that you bring as a former member of parliament yourself. And as I stand here, I can say that we are proud of the relationship that we enjoy with the UNFCCC. We have a memorandum of understanding under which we have been working together to strengthen Parliament's capacity and action to address climate change. Since 2020, we have joined forces to empower parliaments in shaping effective climate legislation, and I believe that is what the previous speakers were asking parliaments to do: shape effective climate action legislation, engaging in international climate processes such as this one, and building the capacities needed to address climate challenges in alignment with the Paris Agreement. Your leadership, Simon, at the UNFCCC is particularly significant for this audience, as you have been a parliamentarian, as I said, and therefore understand the challenges and opportunities as well as responsibilities that lawmakers gathered here carry in the global fight against climate change. Madam President of the IPU, you did say in your speech that Mr. Stiell's experience as a senior minister is a very good asset, giving him a deeper understanding of how parliaments can drive ambitious action in the context of the climate crisis that we have today. And in this way, devise policies that protect both the environment and the well-being of future generations. So, on that note, it gives me great pleasure to ask you to warmly now welcome Mr. Stiell to this gathering. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Secretary General. Sir, Excellencies, colleagues, friends, let me start by thanking the Interparliamentary Union for this invitation to speak to you all today, and I feel very much at home amongst all of you as a former parliamentarian. Parliaments channel the concerns of citizens. You make sure they're reflected in government policy and action. And climate action is a fundamental, pressing concern for all citizens all over the world. When your parties are in government, you can take the lead and champion concrete action that changes lives. When your parties are out of power, you can still push for action, holding the government to account. In both cases, you have a fundamental role, and you can build cross-party support for this fundamental issue. Indeed, this opportunity to meet could not have come at a more appropriate time. As I said in my opening speech some days ago, the world needs to move from incremental progress to exponential action in the fight for a livable world. We saw last month that climate action is miles behind where we need it to be, both in the latest emissions gap report and in the NDC synthesis report. We know the planet is on course to somewhere between 2.6 and 3.1 degrees Celsius, woefully far away from the 1.5 we know we need to reach if we want to avoid the worst catastrophe ever known to humankind. We have seen increasingly violent disasters all over the world, from hurricanes like Beryl, Milton, and Helene, to floods like the ones witnessed in Valencia, or heat waves like the ones we witnessed during the Hajj. This will only get worse, much, much worse, unimaginably worse, if we do not close the distance between where we are now and where science tells us we must be. We know that some of this distance must be closed in the realm of ambition. We need plans that seek to do more. We need enabling policies that empower people to push further. And we also know that ambition alone will not suffice. We need to close the implementation gap. Plans cannot remain words on paper. They must become concrete deliverables on the ground in the real economy. Each country needs to ramp up action. We need to accelerate. And the third round of nationally determined contributions, due early next year, is our last best chance to achieve this goal. These contributions, national climate plans, are an opportunity countries must not miss. Done well, they can serve as powerful blueprints to propel each of your economies and societies forward, driving resilience, opportunity, a healthier environment for healthier populations with higher living standards, all powered by affordable and secure clean energy. We know that technology is there. Renewables are not just the sustainable choice. They are the most economically viable choice with huge rewards. We know the communities you serve are engaged. Every time parties have been ambitious around the negotiating table, people across the planet have responded with clear climate engagement and ready to act. Every sustainable business that got off the ground, every civil society organization that has been created and developed, every community project that has improved people's lives, these are clear signals that your constituents are ready to be the vehicles for investment and the vehicles for change. And NDCs are the way to signal to investors that your governments and your countries are ready to support that investment, following the ABC of NDCs. With real ambition, broken down in detail across every sector of the economy, tackling every greenhouse gas, and with credibility, clearly pointing not only where you want to arrive, but also how we will get there. So what can you do to support us? Firstly, we need you to do everything you can to encourage your national delegations to be as ambitious as possible. This is always important, but it is extremely important right now, given the circumstances we are having, the discussions we are having here at this COP. The new collective quantified goal on climate finance in particular will be a key enabling force for countries around the world, especially those that struggle the most with climate finance. And having parliamentary support behind negotiators can be a powerful force for progress and for greater ambition. What's more, they will enable action back home in every country as governments craft new NDCs. It is no accident that parliaments around the world have the power of the budget. Without resources, the voice of the people cannot manifest itself. It is neutered. And we cannot afford the voices of 8 billion people already suffering with climate change to be neutered. Second, when you go back home, we need you to work concretely towards ambitious NDCs. These national climate plans must lead to the real world, real economy outcomes that our COP negotiators aim to deliver. We need you to bring around colleagues in your spheres, in your respective circles, who may not be entirely on board, but who could be persuaded. Their support could have a huge impact. For example, redirecting public funds towards low carbon and climate resilient activities and away from harmful subsidies and maladaptation. Or implementing indispensable adaptive work across the real economy, saving the lives and livelihoods of your constituents. And third, taking advantage of the important milestones we see at the end of this year, especially the biennial transparency reports. We need you to be champions of accountability in your respective countries. Make sure this information has the enabling impact we need it to have in people's lives. If your countries are behind, then course correct. If your countries are ahead, press the advantage, because every fraction of a degree matters. Friends, like I have said many times, NDCs will be some of the most important documents of this century. They will drive growth and opportunity for everyone involved. You cannot miss this opportunity. Your people cannot miss this opportunity. Your democracies cannot miss this opportunity. So let's do this together. I thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Executive Secretary, and I have the pleasure to offer you floor to Her Excellency, Ms. Tanzila Narbayeva, Chairperson of the Senate of the Oli Majlis of the Republic of Uzbekistan, to deliver a speech on promoting parliamentary cooperation at COP29, the 150th IPU Assembly and beyond. Madam Chairperson, the floor is yours.
Assalomu alaykum, muhtarama Sahiba Khanum, hurmatli Prezident Tulia Eksen, hurmatli Muxtar Babayev, qadrli hamkasblar, avvalambor Ozarbayjon Respublikasida rahbariyatini, shuningdek muhtarama Sahiba Xonimni, parlament jamoasini, butun Birlashgan Millatlar Tashkiloti iqlim o'zgarishi bo'yicha konferensiyasini go'zal Boku shahrida muvaffaqiyatli va yuksak darajada tashkil etilganligi bilan samimiy tabriklayman. Anjuman kun tartibining boyligi hamda ularda bir qator ilg'or tashabbuslar ilgari surilayotgani bilan katta ahamiyat kasb etmoqda. Biz Ozarbayjon tomonidan ilgari surilgan energiya, iqlim barqarorligi, toza vodorod, metan chiqindilarini kamaytirish, yashil koridorlar, raqamli faoliyat sohalariga oid deklaratsiya va tashabbuslarni to'liq qo'llab-quvvatlaymiz. Shuningdek, parlamentlararo ittifoqning iqlim o'zgarishiga qarshi kurashdagi global tashabbuslarini va yashil taraqqiyotga qo'shayotgan katta hissasini olqishlaymiz. Hurmatli konferensiya ishtirokchilari, bugun biz juda muhim mavzularni muhokama qilish uchun va kelgusidagi harakatlarimizni aniqlab olish uchun yig'ildik. Parij bitimi doirasidagi majburiyatlarimizni bajarish, milliy moslashuv rejalarini ishlab chiqish, ushbu jarayonni moliyalashtirish, oziq-ovqat xavfsizligini ta'minlash hamda migratsiyani tartibga solish kabi dolzarb masalalar barchamizning umumiy manfaatlarimizga to'liq mos keladi. Iqlim o'zgarishlariga moslashuv jarayonlarini moliyalashtirish bu yo'nalishdagi muhim vazifalar biridir. Mamlakatimiz 2023-yilda ushbu yo'nalishda MDH davlatlari orasida ilk bor tarixiy qadam tashladi va 331 million dollarlik yashil suveren xalqaro obligatsiyalarni London fond birjasiga joylashtirdi. Bunday muhim ishlar jarayonida biz BMT taraqqiyot dasturi va yashil iqlim jamg'armasi bilan yaqin hamkorlikda O'zbekistonda iqlim o'zgarishidan eng ko'p zarar ko'rish ehtimoli yuqori bo'lgan iqtisodiyot tarmoqlari uchun milliy moslashuv rejalarini ishlab chiqmoqdamiz. Shuningdek, O'zbekiston o'zining geografik joylashuvi tufayli dengizga chiqish imkoniyati yo'q davlat hisoblanishini e'tiborga olib, davlatimiz rahbari Shavkat Mirziyoyev COP29 sammitidagi nutqida dengizga chiqish imkoni bo'lmagan davlatlar uchun yurtimizda BMTning innovatsion agrosanoat hubini yaratish tashabbusini ilgari surdi. Sammit doirasida O'zbekiston, Ozarbayjon va Qozog'iston davlatlari rahbarlari o'rtasida yashil energiyani rivojlantirish va uzatish bo'yicha strategik sheriklik bitimi imzolanganligini alohida ta'kidlash joiz. Aynan bu mintaqaviy loyiha Markaziy Osiyo, Kavkaz va Yevropa o'rtasida yagona energo koridor yaratishga qaratilgan ulkan qadamdir. Muhtarama xonimlar va janoblar, O'zbekiston iqlim muammolariga qarshi kurashish va mintaqaning ekologik barqarorligini ta'minlash maqsadida bir qator muhim mintaqaviy va global tashabbuslar bilan chiqmoqda. Jumladan, ekologik muammolarning mintaqaviy va transchegaraviy xususiyatlarini inobatga olgan holda O'zbekiston tashabbusi bilan ilgari surilgan Markaziy Osiyo global iqlim tahdidlari qarshisida umumiy farovonlik yo'lida hamjihatlik to'g'risida Birlashgan Millatlar Tashkiloti Bosh Assambleyasining rezolyutsiyasi joriy yilda qabul qilindi. O'z navbatida COP29 sammitida Prezident Shavkat Mirziyoyev tomonidan ilgari surilgan daryo ekotizimlarining butunligi va ekologik xavfsizligini ta'minlash bo'yicha majburiyatlar to'g'risidagi deklaratsiyani ishlab chiqish tashabbusi ham qo'llab-quvvatlashingizni so'raymiz. Shuningdek, kelgusi yilning 15-may sanasida Xalqaro iqlim kuni munosabati bilan Orolbo'yi mintaqasida o'tkaziladigan raqamli yashil tashabbuslar global yoshlar festivaliga barcha yoshlar parlamenti vakillarini faol ishtirok etishga taklif etamiz. Hurmatli anjuman ishtirokchilari, bugungi kun tartibi bo'yicha parlamentlar darajasida hamkorlik keng istiqbollarga ega ekanligini hammamiz yaxshi tushunamiz. Bu yo'nalishda barcha parlamentlar qonunchilik sohasida o'zaro tajriba almashishlari muhim ahamiyatga egadir. Davlatlarimiz parlamentlarining ilmiy tadqiqot institutlari, markazlari, tegishli qo'mitalarimizning muntazam hamkorligini ta'minlashimiz zarur. Shuningdek, birgalikda tadqiqotlar o'tkazish, ilmiy asoslangan takliflarni ishlab chiqish va hukumatlarga taqdim etish amaliyotini keng joriy etish maqsadga muvofiq bo'lgan bo'lardi. Shubhasiz, hozirgi tahlikali va global ekologik muammolar avj olayotgan zamonda ushbu vazifalarni amalga oshirishda parlamentlararo ittifoqning o'rni va ahamiyati nihoyatda ortib bormoqda. Yuqorida aytilgan ekologik muammolar barcha davlatlar uchun dolzarbligini e'tiborga olgan holda 2025-yil aprel oyida O'zbekistonda o'tkaziladigan 150 parlamentlararo assambleya doirasida ham iqlim o'zgarishi muammolari alohida keng muhokama qilinishini taklif etamiz. O'z navbatida biz barcha mamlakatlar parlamentlarining mazkur assambleya kun tartibi bilan bog'liq taklif va istaklarini e'tiborga olishga tayyormiz. Fursatdan foydalanib, parlamentlararo ittifoq va Ozarbayjon Respublikasi Milliy Majlisi rahbariyatiga o'zimning samimiy minnatdorchiligimni bildirgan holda, bugungi yig'ilishda ishtirok etayotgan barcha parlament a'zolarini, bizning aziz do'stlarimizni O'zbekiston poytaxti Toshkent shahriga taklif etaman. E'tiboringiz uchun rahmat.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. And now we are inviting all the participants for the coffee break. And I would like to remind that we are waiting for you all back in the room after 15 minutes. Thank you.
with our foot still on the accelerator. Average temperatures and sea levels
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. You fell? Thank you.
One? Yeah, I'm talking. I'm talking. Do you want a video? Oh, sorry. No, I leave it. It's a model. Yeah. Don't worry. This is a model. Oh, wait.
Ladies and gentlemen, you are kindly invited to come back to the room and take your seats. We are about to start.
Bir.
Səsini alın mikrofon zəhmət olmasa.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are kindly asking you to take your seats. Xanımlar və cənablar, zəhmət olmasa yerlərinizi alardınız.
Так, у нас сейчас видео, потом... Удобно вам так?
Да. Просто там принтер двухсторонний, поэтому...
Tonga, Pakistan, Uyghur'u sağladı. Tonga, de gelir size.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are kindly asking you to take your seats. Xanımlar və cənablar, yerlərinizi almanızı xahiş edirik.
Анонс мы уже сделали без микрофона.
Attention please, ladies and gentlemen. We are almost to start. Please kindly take your seats. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the meeting. So we would like to highlight that at the parliamentary meeting, we will be showing short videos like the one you're gonna see now. And these videos are the part of the IPU's parliaments for the Planet campaign, which we will hear more about later. The videos showcase the latest trends in climate action, as well as illustrate some of the key actions parliamentarians around the world are taking to counterfeit for the climate crisis.
Climate change is accelerating. The United Nations Secretary General warns, we're on a highway to climate hell with our foot still on the accelerator. Average temperatures and sea levels are rising. Wildfires, storms and droughts are becoming more frequent and more intense. Many people are calling it a climate crisis. The climate crisis is caused by increased greenhouse gases in our atmosphere. They occur naturally, but since the Industrial Revolution they've increased exponentially as a result of human activity, mostly from burning fossil fuels like coal and oil, also from deforestation and land use for food systems and urban development. Greenhouse gases in our atmosphere absorb heat, just like a greenhouse does. The most common is carbon dioxide. It stays in the atmosphere for centuries. Carbon dioxide primarily comes from burning fossil fuels such as coal, oil, or gas. The other two most important greenhouse gases are methane and nitrous oxide, which last less time in the atmosphere but are much more potent. Methane primarily comes from agriculture and burning fossil fuels, and nitrous oxide primarily comes from agriculture, specifically fertilizers. Greenhouse gases act as a blanket around the Earth, so our planet keeps getting hotter on average, with weather patterns becoming more extreme. We have to reduce greenhouse gas emissions and support ways to offset. We all need to act now. Scientists call this the most decisive decade in the next 10,000. As a parliamentarian, you need to know that not acting could cost the world's economy as much as $178 trillion by 2070. Here are 3 ways for you to take action as a parliamentarian. Check the sources of your country's greenhouse gas emissions using Climate Trace. Stop all new fossil fuel drilling and sign the Fossil Fuel Non-Proliferation Treaty. Stop subsidizing harm. Eliminate direct and indirect fossil fuel subsidies to align economic incentives with the true cost of environmental and social impact. The IMF predicts if these $7 trillion in subsidies were eliminated, emissions would drop by 34% by 2030. Support the transition to renewable energy like wind and solar, which are cheaper, healthier, and generate green jobs.
Dear participants, we are starting our session setting the scene, understanding the real impact of climate change. The session will feature people living on the front lines of climate change, including youth, indigenous people, and representatives from most climate vulnerable countries, to provide a picture of the climate realities that they face and inspire collective efforts to address the climate crisis. The session will highlight urgent climate priorities facing humanity. In the regard of it's my pleasure to give the floor to Ms. Hindu Oumarou Ibrahim, indigenous woman of the Mbora people from Chad, chair of the United Nations Permanent Forum of Indigenous Issues and COP29 advisor. Ms. Hindu Oumarou Ibrahim, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much and good afternoon. Such a great pleasure to be with you here as the representative of people that can hold accountable the government in their action and in their inaction on climate change. As he said, my name is Hindu Oumarou Ibrahim. I come from Chad, the country in the middle of the Sahel region. I am an indigenous woman from Mbororo pastoralist communities. My people are nomadic and semi-nomadic. So that means we live in harmony with the nature, and we really depend from the nature. Our life and livelihood depend from the daily ecosystem, that we can find our food, we can find our water, we can find our medicine. So the nature for us, it is not a commodity, but it is a place that we can live in harmony. It is the place that we can collect all what we need. We do not go to the supermarket to buy our food. No, we do not go to the pharmacy because we are very far from all that. So nature is our pharmacy, our supermarket. When it gets impacted, that means our life and livelihood are getting impacted. And let me give you the concrete examples of the climate impact that is happening right now in my country, Chad. The last 6 months, we had an extreme heat that killed the elders, killed the children, and people was so impacted by this drought. One of the images that stay in my eyes from this drought, there was so many dead bodies in the hospitals. The fridge room cannot contain them. There was one woman, as we have a more Muslim country, we bury our people the same day. The time they take the body from the hospital, they send her home, they have to buy ice to break and put in her body to do not rot. This image went to all the social media. It's stuck in my mind. If just from some hours to take a dead body from the hospital to home, prepare the body to bury it, you need to buy an ice to put into the body. That means the heat is extreme. And right now, since 2 months, we are experiencing the flood that we never had. We have over 2 million people displaced. 2 million. Overnight, they lost their home, gone. They become homeless in their own country. They become refugees, displaced in their own countries. We have about 1,000 of people dead because of the flood. 100 disappear. We have thousands and millions of the land hectares of the crops gone underwater. And the rainy season ends. Now what is happening? The rivers are full, and they are all flooding around the places. So people are living the real impact of the climate change today. It is not about the report. It is not on the TV, but it is in our real life. And the issue is, I think most of this room hear what is happening in Spain. Of course, it's very sad. More than 200 people dead. But who hear about what's happening right now in Chad? They are not talking about our people that is coming from this area. And when we talk indigenous peoples, we are even the most impacted, or we are living and depending from this nature. And this is all what is matter for us. So having you here in this climate conference is such a good way for me to see you can help to get a right decision. You can discuss around the national budget how much can go to the climate adaptation, how much can go to the climate resilience. You can talk, hold your government accountable. The developed countries must pay for what they did. It is the loss and damage. And that the developed countries, just right now I come out from the negotiation, they are still discussing about the funding. So we need this funding right now to help the peoples. It is the matter of humanity. It is the matter of survival of the peoples. It is not about economy. It is not about the development of developed countries. It is the matter of the survival of everyone, that as parliamentarian, you can hold your government accountable to put the money in the tables, then my people can survive. Otherwise, we will be simply disappear. It is the issue of all the indigenous peoples from the Arctic to the Amazon, to the small developing islands, the Pacific, to the mountain of Himalaya. We are living the same thing. But let me end by saying we are the guardian of the water's ecosystem. We do have a traditional knowledge that help our people to maintain. If we do not get a recognition into the negotiation text to respect the indigenous peoples, if you do not mention in your national law as the National Adaptation Plan or Mitigation Plan, the role of indigenous peoples and the right of indigenous peoples, that means we will be missing from the solution and it's not going to help to fasten. So my call to you is please represent the people like me, like my people. Represent them to hold your government accountable from developed country to pay for the loss and damage for the climate adaptation and mitigation. From developing country, ensure that the right of indigenous peoples, of women, of children are into the national law to make the implementation of the program, of the plan, accountable and responsible at the national level. And we are here to play the role to support you as the parliamentarian representing us to raise your voice. And I count on you. I hope we can make it together to our single and simple planet that we love all. I thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and it's a great privilege to me to give the floor to the Lord Whakafanua, Speaker of the Legislative Assembly of the Kingdom of Tonga.
Ms. Gaviva Sahiba Gafarova, Speaker of the Mili Majlis, Ms. Tulia Aksen, President of the IPU, the Secretary General of the IPU, Martin Chonga, fellow Speakers of Parliament, Members of Parliament, delegates, good morning. Firstly, I would like to extend a sincere appreciation to the Speaker, as well as the government of the people of Azerbaijan, for the warm reception and the excellent organization of COP29 here in the beautiful city of Baku. I bring warmest greetings from the people of the Kingdom of Tonga, a small island state, a small island developing state in the South Pacific on the other side of the planet. I understand that this session is about setting the scene, and so I'll try and paint a picture. Small island developing states are mostly low-lying islands in the largest Pacific Ocean, or in any ocean, faced with the forefront of climate change. We have more frequent and more intense tropical cyclones or hurricanes that wash our shores. We are experiencing sea level rising, ocean acidification, a loss of biodiversity in our oceans. There's less fish, less food security. And this is all due to what Antonio Guterres, Secretary of the United Nations, calls climate injustice. Climate injustice because SIDS contribute 0.02% of greenhouse gas emissions, yet we are at the forefront of climate change. And like one of my brothers from Pakistan said when they had the devastating floods, what happened in Pakistan won't stay in Pakistan. And I'm sure that we are all experiencing the negative effects of climate change. A World Meteorological Organization study from 2023 reported that the sea level rise in the Pacific is higher than the global average. This is only going to get worse when we have no action. The ambition of small island developing states have always been there. The scientific consensus and knowledge that we have today is only confirming what we have been saying for decades. Tonga has had a 2010 target to achieve 50% renewable energy by 2020. We had the ambition, but because of a lack of financing, technical transfer, and technical know-how, we've only managed to achieve 18% renewable energy today. This is our goal to mitigate against greenhouse climate effects. However, unless the 5 top contributing greenhouse gas emitters. The top 5 make a difference. Whatever we do in small islands won't make a change. If we mitigate and go full carbon neutral, it won't make a difference. We will still be sinking. We will still be losing our biodiversity. Adaptation has been slow. Loss and damage in COP28 was a big achievement. However, when a superstar who plays soccer gets paid more than the loss and damage fund, when one person can buy a boat for $700 million compared to the loss and damage balance we have of 720 million, where is the global justice there? When we spend more money on entertainment than we do on loss and damage, the climate injustice is real. 1.5 degree, which we are about to overshoot, we are facing 2%. We're even going to achieve 3 if we continue at the current track. 1.5 is 70% loss of biodiversity in our oceans. 70%. Forget about clams, forget about fish or tuna. It's gone. The infrastructure deficit that is a key feature of small island developing states puts us at a disadvantage when you look at adaptation. When we're already facing year to year extreme weather shocks, an example from Tonga, in 2018, a category 5 tropical cyclone Gita destroyed our parliament, a parliament building that stood for over 100 years. We have to rebuild our parliament away from its current location, in higher ground. This is adaptation that is real today. We have to think about migrating our people from low-lying islands. We have to think about building seawalls that we can't afford. We have to strengthen and have more resilient infrastructure with funding that is not available to us. We applied for Green Climate Fund funding to build a seawall in one of our islands. This funding arrived no more than 7 years later. The funding, the access, the technology, the ambition, it's not matching the timeline that the scientists are giving us today. We need action, and COP is important for that to happen. I believe that legislators have a duty. If the free market won't do it, legislators must make it law. We did it for cigarettes, we did it for drugs. Why aren't we doing it for the planet? For some of our island states in the Pacific, adaptation is too late. Mitigation is too late. The sovereign countries of Kiribati and Tuvalu in our lifetime will no longer exist. Today, king tides wash up in their backyards. Today, salt intrusion into the water table has prevented their crops from growing. The coconut trees are dying. These people will have no land, no home. What is sovereignty without a language, without a land, without a democracy, without an identity? When these people migrate from their homes, what happens to their elections? What happens to their population when they're divided across the world? And this won't end in the Pacific. There are reports that over 1.2 billion people are currently in the front line over the next 50 to 100 years. This is going to impact everyone. And some real life news that we've heard of in the recent year. Rescue helicopters in America couldn't fly because of a heat wave. People who needed emergency evacuation died because the helicopter can't fly, it's too hot. Technology can only take us so far, but we have the technology today to make a difference. Vegetables, certain trees, beyond 40 degrees, lettuce will stop growing. How will you have your salads? I wish to end by setting the tone that the small island developing states want to make their voice heard. We have the ambition. We need to bring collectively all our governments and the private sector so that we can phase out fossil fuels, phase out the sources of greenhouse gas emissions. This needs to be done yesterday. Why we haven't moved, I don't know. That's a question for our leaders. So I'd like to thank you by painting this picture for us to start our deliberations today. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I'm pleased and honored to welcome Mr. Mahmut Toyer Zokirzoda, Speaker of the House of Representatives of the Republic of Tajikistan.
محترم رئیس، محترم رهبران هیئت، خانمان و جنابان، در آغاز می‌خواهم به تشکیل کنندگان نشستی مهم بین المللی اتحاد بین پارلمنتی و ملی مجلس جمهوری آذربایجان منتداری خود را اظهار نمایم. ضمناً برای استقبال صمیمی و مهمان‌نوازی در شهر زیبا و دلکشای باکو شخصاً به رئیس ملی مجلس جمهوری آذربایجان محترمه صاحبه غفرова اظهار سپاس می‌نمایم. امروز مشکلات تغییرآبی اقلیم و حفظ محیط زیست از موضوع داغ جامعه جهانی معاصر محسوب یافته بدون همکاری و همگرایی بین المللی حل آن غیر امکان می باشد. ما در 5 سال اخیر شاهد گرمشوی گلوبالی به سابقه هوا گردیدیم که سبب خشکسالی و دیگر آفت‌های طبیعی گردیده به امنیت آذوقه‌واری و دیگر ساحه‌های اقتصادی کشورهای جهان تأثیر منفی رسانیده ایستاده است. این مشکلات در راه رسیدن به هدف‌های رشد استوار در کشورهای گوناگون از جمله تاجیکستان که کشور کوهستان بوده روبروی پیامدهای تغییریابی اقلیم آسیب پذیر باقی میماند، مانعی جدی ایجاد می‌نماید. یکی از نشانه‌های واضح همبستگی آب و اقلیم این آبشوی با سرعت پیریخ‌ها میباشد. طوری می‌دانید 15 دکبر سال 2022 مجمع عمومی سازمان ملل متحد با پشتیبانی از تشبث پنجم پرزیدنت جمهوری تاجیکستان محترم امامعلی رحمان در ساحه آب و اقلیم درباره اعلام کردن سال 2025 همچون سال بین المللی حفظ پیریخ‌ها قطعنامه قبول کرد. طبق این سند همچون 21 مارس روز جهانی پیریخ‌ها اعلام گردیده در نزد سازمان ملل متحد فوند مقصدناک حفظ پیریخ‌ها تأسیس یافت و تاجیکستان از اولینها شده سهم مالیوی خود را به فوند مذکور گذاشت. ما قرارهای سازمان ملل متحد را در روند حل مشکلات وابسته به آب و تغییریابی اقلیم بسیار مهم و ثمره بخش می‌دانیم. البته ما تلاش‌های خود را در این سمت تقویت بخشیده ادامه خواهیم داد. اطمینان دارم که اشتراکداران همایش سطح بلند امروزه نیز بی‌طرف نیستند و تلاش‌های مشترک را در این جهت به خرج خواهند داد. دوستان عزیز، با نظرداشت وضع امروزه جهان ما را ضرور است که بهر پیشگیری روند تاثیرگذاری خوف و آفت‌های اقلیم چاره‌های مؤثر عملی اندیشیم. یکی از این عمل‌های استفاده بیشتر ذخیره‌های انرژتیکی برقرار شونده و گذریش به انرژی سبز میباشد. تحلیل‌ها نشان می‌دهند که ذخیره و امکانیت‌ها در سمت رشد انرژی سبز در اکثر کشورها از جمله تاجیکستان خیلی زیادند. شما خوب می‌دانید که استفاده ثمراناک сарчашмаҳои энергетикӣ таҷдидшаванда барои коҳиши партофти газҳои гулхонаӣ ва рушди иқтисоди сабз мусоидат мекунанд. таври президенти ҷумҳурии тоҷикистон муҳтарам эмомалӣ раҳмон зимни суханронӣ дар иҷлосияи умумии конферонси 29-уми ҷонибҳои конвенсияи қолабии созмони милали муттаҳид оид ба тағйирёбии иқлим ки чанд рӯз қабл дар шаҳри бокуи ҷумҳурии озарбойҷон баргузор гардид зикр намуданд. тоҷикистон аз ҷумлаи кишварҳоест ки стратегияи рушди иқтисоди сабзро қабул намуда дар назди худ ҳадафҳои бузург гузоштааст. дар ин замина ҷумҳурии тоҷикистон ҳадаф дорад ки то соли 2032 истеҳсоли энергияро дар кишвар пурра аз ҳисоби манбаъҳои таҷдидшаванда баро монда то соли 2037 ҳамчун кишвари сабз муаррифӣ гардад. имрӯз аллакай 98% барқи кишвари мо аз ҳисоби энергияи обӣ истеҳсол шуда, ҳиссаи тоҷикистон дар ҳаҷми партовҳои газҳои гулхонаӣ дар сатҳи паст қарор дорад ва аз рӯи ин нишондод дар ҷаҳон дар ҷойи 130-ум қарор дорад. албатта ноил гаштан ба ҳадафҳои болозикр ҳамкориҳои судмандро ба шарикони рушд хусусан институтҳои молиявии ҷаҳонӣ тақозо менамояд. ҳозирини гиромӣ, бояд гуфт ки парламенти ҷумҳурии тоҷикистон дар баробари ташаббусҳои қонунгузорӣ маркази чорабиниҳои гуногун оид ба ҳифзи муҳити зист ва тағйирёбии иқлим мебошад. дар тӯли фаъолияти худ парламенти кишвари мо вобаста ба ҳифзи муҳити зист ва тағйирёбии иқлим беш аз 34 қонунҳои мукаммалро қабул намудааст. маҷмуан парламент фаъолияти худро баҳри иҷрои ӯҳдадориҳои байналмилалии ҷумҳурии тоҷикистон дар самти тағйирёбии иқлим ва ҳифзи муҳити зист такмили қонунгузории кишварро роҳандозӣ намудааст. шоиста ба зикр аст ки парлумони ҷумҳурии тоҷикистон соли 2024 ба пайгири яке аз ташаббусҳои ҷаҳонии президенти ҷумҳурии тоҷикистон муҳтарам эмомалӣ раҳмон дар бораи эълон кардани соли 2025 ҳамчун соли байналмилалии ҳифзи пиряхҳо қонуни ҷумҳурии тоҷикистон дар бораи ҳифзи пиряхҳоро қабул намуд ва доир ба таҳияи лоиҳаи кодекси экологии ҷумҳурии тоҷикистон корҳо идома доранд. хонумҳо ва ҷанобҳо, итминони комил дорам ки тасмимҳое ки дар доираи чорабиниҳои конферонси 29-уми тарафҳои конвенсия гирифта мешаванд ба ташаккули механизми ҳамкориҳо дар сатҳи миллӣ, минтақавӣ ва глобалӣ мусоидат хоҳанд кард. дар фароварди сухан ба ҳамаи шумо иштирокдорони муҳтарам муваффақият ва барори кор мехоҳам. аз таваҷҷӯҳатон сипосгузорам.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I would like to invite Ms. Eliza Spiropali, Speaker of the Parliament of Albania.
Your Excellency, Speaker of the Milli Mejlis of Azerbaijan, Madame Sabia Gafarova, Your Excellency IPU President, Madame Tulia Akson, honorable guests, Excellencies, dear colleagues, speakers, parliamentarians. It is a great pleasure to attend this very important parliamentary meeting dedicated to one of the most critical issues that humanity and the world is facing, climate change. I express my gratitude to Azerbaijan, Parliament and Government, particularly our colleague, Speaker Sabia Gafarova, for the excellent organization of this event. The eyes of the world have been on Baku and COP29 these past days. I thank the Interparliamentary Union and the President, Madame Tulia Axon for her dedication and contribution. I thank also all parliamentary leaders and representatives for their participation and contribution to this event. Dear colleagues and friends, it is a question of duty and honor to take part and contribute to the parliamentary dimension of COP29. It demonstrates and proves our concerns, efforts, and devotion to the crucial theme of climate change and to a safe planet for our people. These noble goals and objectives appeal for our response, and we are here to show our commitment. Parliaments play a decisive role in the development and implementation of nationally determined contributions, which are at the heart of the Paris Agreement and countries' efforts to combat climate change. The process of revising NDCs urges us to ensure the inclusive character of the process through facilitating public participation and stakeholder engagement. Consolidate the legal framework through enacting legislation that supports the implementation of NDC targets and climate action plans. Guarantee financial support through approving budgets and allocating sufficient resources for climate mitigation and adaptation measures. Exercise parliamentary scrutiny and oversight to the government's progress in meeting these commitments. Strengthening the international dimension through promoting change through interparliamentary networks and dialogues. Nowadays, we're facing an asymmetric position in affronting climate change consequences. The biggest economies are at the same time the biggest producers, the biggest consumers, the biggest environmental polluters, and biggest detrimentals of our planet. However, they are also the responsibles, but also able to change the situation. We must stop being familiar with this situation of articulating beautiful words, but practically doing nothing and continuing to affect climate, pollute the environment, and kill our planet. We have to act, not only to talk. We do not live in an ideal, but in a real world. We have to behave like the sons and daughters of the planet, not like its owners. Albania remains committed to contributing to the global efforts under the Paris Agreement, translating our national climate ambitions into tangible actions. In recent years, we have implemented several measures to ensure that our national determined contributions align with both current climate goals and our future ambitions for 2025. The revised NDCs submitted in October 2021 outlined the country's commitment to addressing climate change through enhanced mitigation and adaptation efforts. Albania aims for an unconditional emissions reduction of 20.9% below the actual levels by 2030, a significant increase from the initial target of 11.5% set in the first NDCs. The revised commitments in 2021 included several key sectors that contribute to GHG emissions: energy, agriculture, waste, land use change and forestry, industrial processes, and product use. Albania has prioritized energy transition as a key driver of emission reductions. The productive activities of the country are based on 100% renewable energy. In our efforts to diversify and strengthen our energy metrics, we have embarked on a transformation path. Our long-term strategy includes increasing renewable energy capacity, emphasizing solar and wind energy, apart from hydropower. In 2023, Albania achieved a significant milestone by becoming a net exporter of energy produced domestically through hydropower solely. In 2023, Albania declared the Vjosa River as Europe's first wild river national park, a groundbreaking move that protects 12,700 hectares of land and forest sustainable development practices. This designation supports our mitigation efforts by preserving vital ecosystems that act as carbon sinks and promoting eco-friendly tourism, which benefits local communities. Albania has also focused on energy efficiency measures. Through government-led initiatives, such as the National Energy Efficiency Action Plan, we have successfully implemented projects to retrofit public buildings, including schools and hospitals, with energy-saving technologies. Our Parliament has played an important role in translating these climate goals into legislative action. Recent laws and amendments have reinforced Albania's environmental governance framework, ensuring stronger regulatory oversight and accountability. The Albanian Parliament, together with the government, have taken several legislative and policy actions to support NDC implementation. Establishing of the Interministerial Working Group on Climate Change, which coordinates climate change processes across institutions. Approval of national climate change strategy and corresponding national mitigation and adaptation plans in July 2019. Adoption of the National Energy and Climate Plan in December 2021, which is being refined to reflect the Energy Community 2030 targets. Revision of laws on energy efficiency and energy performance of buildings in 2021. Parliamentary committees have been actively engaged in shaping climate policies, facilitating interministerial collaboration, and overseeing the progress of NDC implementation. Currently, the Ministry of Tourism and Environment is finalizing the procedures to start preparing the transparency report, which will inform us on our current implementation of our commitments. As we look ahead to the 2025 submission or revised national determined commitments, Albania is committed to continuing these efforts, integrating new technologies, fostering public-private partnership, youth, gender perspectives, and enhancing the role of our legislative bodies in ensuring robust climate governance. I thank you for listening.
Thank you, Ms. Speaker. And now I would like to offer the floor to Ms. Leyla Hasanova, Youth Climate Champion for COP29.
Ladies and gentlemen, dear excellencies, it's a pleasure to join you here today. As COP29 Presidency Youth Climate Champion, we're working on putting children and youth at the heart of climate diplomacy and the COP processes. The first global stocktake acknowledged the disproportionate impacts of climate change on children and youth, and it gave countries a clear mandate to identify policy solutions that will address these specific impacts. Nearly half of the world's children live in countries at extremely high risk of the impacts of climate change. These impacts have far-reaching consequences on health, education, and security. According to past research, 88% of the impact of disease from climate change unfortunately falls on children under 5 years old. A 2023 report from UNICEF noted that there were 43.1 million internal displacements linked to weather disasters over a 6-year period. And more than 400 million students globally have experienced educational disruption from extreme heat since 2022, according to the resources. In my home country of Azerbaijan, we have experienced extreme heat, water scarcity, and declining water levels in the Caspian Sea. The COP29 presidency has a vision based on 2 mutually reinforcing pillars: to enhance ambition and enable action, with climate finance as a centerpiece. Enhancing ambition involves all parties and countries delivering nationally determined contributions, national adaptation plans, biannual transparency reports to signal their commitment and to guide how we support each other. Here, we are calling for countries, parliamentarians, to produce age-responsive climate plans and policies. And stakeholders need to meaningfully engage with youth in developing, implementing, and reporting on climate action plans. We are convinced that youth can play a key role in developing and pioneering the sustainable solutions that we need to achieve our climate ambitions. Enabling action involves increasing climate finance by several multiples to turn ambition into action, with a fair and ambitious new climate finance goal. In addition to negotiating priorities, the presidency has released its action agenda, a set of voluntary initiatives that drive progress across society. For both the negotiations and our action agenda, we have approached youth and children as a cross-cutting theme, and we tried to put children and youth at the heart of climate discussions. Specifically, the Baku Initiative on Human Development for Climate Resilience will deliver various outcomes on human development, including, of course, for children and youth. And it will enhance environmental literacy through educational standards. And here, I am pleased to have hosted the first ever climate change summer camp for young educators from 75 countries from across the globe. And now I am calling for you, parliamentarians, for your community to also support children and youth in your respective communities. Dear Excellencies and distinguished parliamentarians, I urge you to keep children and youth always in mind. I thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Leyla Hasanova, and I would like to invite Mr. Thomas Fitzsimons, Director of Communication at the IPU, to make some brief remarks about the IPU's Parliaments for the Planet campaign. The floor is yours.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, before we break for lunch, please allow me a few minutes of your attention to give you the latest updates on the IPU's ongoing climate campaign, Parliaments for the Planet, which we launched last year. Our campaign has a clear and urgent mission to empower parliaments to take bold climate action and to highlight the best practice in decarbonisation. In the campaign, we focus on two areas. Part one, calls on parliaments and those who work in them to lead by example, reduce their carbon footprint and transform into greener institutions. Part two is designed to inspire parliaments to accelerate their efforts in implementing the Paris Agreement through legislation, budgeting, and to put pressure on governments to raise their climate ambitions to lower global temperatures. I'm pleased to announce that we have created two guides for each part of the campaign, featuring a series of 10 simple actions for MPs. You can download these guides using the QR codes just behind me or on our website, www.ipu.org. Since its launch, our campaign has gained considerable momentum, with case studies and video interviews of MPs reaching over 200 views on YouTube and thousands more on social media. But views alone are not enough. We need action. So how can you join and become an IPU climate champion? Two ways. First, share success stories of how your parliament is addressing the climate emergency and any parliamentary actions you're taking to implement the Paris Agreement using the hashtag Parliaments for the Planet. Second, come forward to be interviewed about your parliament's climate efforts. We would be pleased to feature you in our campaign over the next few weeks if you can spare a few minutes of your time this weekend. To inspire you, let me now introduce one of our climate champions who will be a familiar face to many of you and whose action will inspire you as we go into lunch. If we can have the video, please.
Ladies and gentlemen, and now you are invited to cafeteria area, but before this I would like to mention that after the lunch break you will have the possibility to participate at the 3 panel sessions, and please keep in mind that you have to wear your badge to come back to the building and of course for the hall. Thank you so much.